Hey guys, LevelCap here, and this week in gaming, PavlovVR goes historical shooter. We got a hint about Battlefield 6 reveal date, Siege players fell victim to a new exploit, and much more. PavlovVR just got a massive update that essentially turns the game into a World War II era FPS. It adds tanks, a 10v10 tank TDM mode, 18 new guns, 2 new maps, 2 remastered maps, and a buttload of changes. Pavlov is one of those games that's hard to describe without talking about the influences it wears on its sleeve. Saying it's CSGO or Call of Duty but in VR isn't really totally accurate, but it's also not that far off the mark. Many of Pavlov's maps and weapons are either pulled from or directly inspired by other games. This World War II update helps bring the game into its own with more original content. Plus, who doesn't love a good tank in VR? Really though, the big appeal with this update is that Pavlov is one of the best VR shooters out there, and now it's offering an experience most VR shooters don't. The only other World War II VR FPS out today is the new Medal of Honor VR game, and that didn't do so well when it came to player reviews. Pavlov bridges the gap between VR gun sim and traditional FPS games. All the weapons feature realistic control surfaces, but they're not bogged down with multiple layers of realism for the sake of realism type mechanics. The World War II update is free for all players, and the game is currently in early access on Steam. Battlefield 6 is expected to launch this year, and EA's investor call schedule might have given us a window for the reveal date. They have 2 calls scheduled, one on February 2nd and another on May 11th. Considering Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 were both revealed in May, I think it's safe to assume Battlefield 6 will be announced sometime around the second investors call. That said, temper your expectations. EA recently said they gave DICE an extra year to work on the game. They also said Battlefield 6 is the biggest game DICE have ever made. Rumors suggest that it'll support 128 player servers. DICE building a super massive game that requires an extra year to get out the door while the entire studio is working from home during a pandemic could mean the game will be delayed into 2022. So don't be surprised if EA announces a big delay instead of revealing Battlefield 6. Rainbow Six Siege players recently fell victim to a new exploit that let random players join your party. Many Siege streamers were targeted this week, with people abusing the exploit to harass them while live. It's a pretty egregious problem that might not be a big deal for most players, but it's still a genuine issue. In response, Ubisoft issued a hotfix to make it impossible to join an existing party unless someone on your friends list is in it. The fix only applies to PC. Call of Duty Warzone had a rough week thanks to revelations regarding a new exploit and failed attempt by Raven Software to nerf the DMR-14. Players recently discovered a means of bypassing the game's matchmaking and forcing themselves into bot lobbies. These are the lobbies where new or low-skilled players are put into so they can learn the game or have a chance at playing without getting destroyed. Many of the enemies in these lobbies are AI-controlled bots. Aside from the implications of skilled players abusing an exploit to beat up on new or low-skilled players, this also draws into question the result of online Warzone tournaments that utilize public matchmaking. It's entirely possible that some players use this exploit to ensure a win. As for the failed DMR nerf, Raven Software issued a patch that reduced its damage over range, but it seems like the patch accidentally buffed the gun's recoil. Even with the reduced damage, the DMR is still a god tier weapon that outclasses everything else in the game. Obviously, it's just a matter of time before they address the problem, but the real question is, what will the next crisis be? Exploits, broken weapons, and massive balance issues have been one of Warzone's defining characteristics since launch. The mid-season update for Cold War is launching next week with 2 new maps, Sanatorium for Fireteam and Dropkick for 6v6. Rumors suggest the game's Fireteam mode is a preview of Warzone's next map. Sanatorium looks like a slightly more urban environment and is set in the same location as the game's other Fireteam maps. Hopefully, this means Warzone's next map will have a good variety of locations and won't just be a sprawling countryside dotted with buildings. The annual speedrunning charity event for Awesome Games Done Quick cruised past $1 million raised faster than any AGDQ event ever. Today is the event's finale, and so far it raised $1.6 million. It seems likely the event will pull in over $2 million before the day is finished. All proceeds raised during the event go to the Prevent Cancer Foundation, and to date, the Games Done Quick events have collectively raised nearly $26 million. Rust's resurgence has been astronomical to say the least. Streamers on Twitch started favoring the game again, boosting viewership and concurrent player counts to record-breaking highs. This week, the devs launched a small update that also enabled Twitch drops. So far, they've made over $1 million just on 2 days this week. The game's concurrent player count ballooned to 200,000 players yesterday, making it one of the most played games on Steam. It seems like Rust is yet another beneficiary of the Twitch effect, which recently boosted Fall Guys, Among Us, Phasmophobia, and a few other games into superstardom over the past few months. Dying Light 2 is teasing some exciting news after nearly a year of radio silence. The game was delayed early last year and fired its lead writer due to sexual assault allegations against him. This week, one of the game's senior developers left the studio. Despite all that, we can expect an announcement regarding the game's launch sometime soon. Microsoft Flight Simulator is getting a proper F-15 jet this month. It's a third-party DLC plane that's going up for sale on the 18th at the earliest. The DLC will offer 4 variants of this iconic fighter jet. Each one has different ordnance, but it's unclear if you'll be able to use them. Microsoft took a very tell, don't show approach to destruction with its most recent installment. Instead of playing some insanely high fidelity explosion, the game simply cuts to black if you take too much damage. So it doesn't seem likely that you'll be taking out any tangos with the F-15. But that's not the only limitation players can expect to run into. Microsoft Flight Sim currently has a hard cap on the max speed of all aircraft of Mach 1. The F-15 can fly at Mach 2.5, so it's not exactly a one-to-one recreation of the real-world plane. Microsoft Flight Sim's developers are planning on supporting the game for several years to come, so it wouldn't shock me if these limitations are either improved officially or modded by players down the line. The popular Flight Sim DCS doesn't have these limitations. As a result, its gameplay tends to be much more player-driven and interactive as opposed to Microsoft Flight Sim, which is mostly about getting from one place to another while taking in the visuals. It would be cool to see official support for more interactive features and gameplay. Before our final story this week, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I know we live in crazy times and gaming news feels like a luxury rather than a necessity, but our goal is to be a reliable source of information, and your support helps make that possible. Thank you for subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing our videos. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and LevelCap Shorts on YouTube to get shorter, bite-sized news stories. Links to all that is in the video description and pinned in the comments. In our final story this week, Riot have revealed the next hero for Valorant. Yoru is classified as an infiltrator duelist. His abilities include invisibility, teleportation, a flash grenade, and decoy footsteps. Yoru will be added with the Episode 2 Act 1 update on the 12th. Yoru won't be the only addition to the game, however. The Episode 2 update will introduce a new Battle Pass and skin bundle with fan-favorite skins from the previous episode. You can also expect some changes to the game's balance and fixes for bugs. And that wraps it up for This Week in Gaming. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.